Hello
Oh,
everyone. Happy 2025. It's a new year.
woohoo.
We are
Yay.
very excited for this episode. We're kicking off the new year with our first ever guest on You'll Get There. Hello.
Hi.
Are you coming to the happy hour? I need to vent.
I'm still at the office.
Oh my God, are you trying to be CEO or something?
Yeah.
You'll get there, but I'll see you at happy hour. Um, Today we have Olivia Hall, and this is a very special episode because Olivia is someone who I've had the opportunity with to collaborate closely throughout my career. Olivia is a digital designer, she's a web designer, graphic designer. She's a content creator. She works heavily with luxury brands. She does it all, and she's one of the most talented people in our industry. And I'm thrilled that she's here with us today. Olivia, do you want to talk a little bit about yourself and your career and how you got to where you are today?
Yes. Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me. I'm so excited. Um, I guess I can start off with just kind of how I got here. So my background, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, went to Miami University and studied digital marketing, social media marketing, and fashion business. And then I got the opportunity to work for an internship for a photographer and advertiser in New York. And that really kicked off everything for me. And that's where I met Madeline, how I was able to come to New York and start working with these luxury brands, working freelance and contract jobs. So then moved here and started working for La Mer Beauty Company, and that also, I think, really kind of kick-started different avenues in my career and kind of got inspiration and more like developing skills. So happy to talk about that too.
Yeah,
Want me to get into it?
that's awesome. And I wanted to start off with, so you started your career really freelancing, working random gigs, especially with Fashion Week, where we worked really closely together. And then you had a shift where you work for one of the biggest luxury beauty brands, La Mer, which, if you didn't know, La Mer is a Estee Lauder company. Estee Lauder owns a ton of beauty brands. So it's very corporate and you get to work on a lot of really amazing projects. So
Mhm.
what kind of was the biggest shift from going from the crazy fashion week life to now working with La Mer?
It was definitely it was definitely a big change because we went from working a lot of events freelancing. So it was a lot of everything packed in at one point to then having some off time. So I think the biggest change is having a 9 to 5 relatively every day, which ended up I I do enjoy because it gives you more stability, and being so doing all the freelancing early in the career was great because it gave me all of my portfolio work and experience to be able to get this job. But then I was able to kind of learn more about like the processes and like more in
Yeah.
depth about business in general and kind of how
Yeah.
all of that plays a role. So even I still do freelancing on the side for other companies. So now it's like understanding even how those companies may work or may
Yeah.
expect things.
The
So it
ins
kind
and
of,
out of companies.
yeah, so it's been great. And I think it gave me, especially on my team now, I'm on the global digital team at La Mer. So we work in really fast-paced environments compared to our 360 teams that are working more on like product launches, as we do more monthly seasonal campaigns where there's different promotions. And then we also do
Yeah.
like Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So it all very different, a new way of working, but I think I was able to learn different things quicker that I maybe necessarily wouldn't have been able to do on my own, or I just like
Yeah.
didn't even think that I was able to do it on my own, but now kind of getting that confidence to maybe then
Yeah.
pursue
Yeah.
that in other ways too.
I think
Uh,
that's great. I think that we all kind of share that like background
mhm.
of starting off in a smaller, more hectic environment and then kind of moving up into a more like corporate, you would say, environment. So it's
Hmm.
like you get thrown into it so young. So it's like very exciting and your eyes open to a lot of different things than you would if you were to start in a big corporation.
Yeah,
100%.
it's a little bit of a domino effect because I think starting off working for a smaller company and freelancing, you get to do a lot that people, if they never had that experience, you get a lot of skills that you can take to a bigger corporation and vice versa, because then you
Yeah.
can go back to freelancing after working for a corporation and take on some new skills that others may not have. And so I think like having experience in both is so important to be like the best in your professional field, because you have to know the ins and out of a bigger company if you want to grow something, if you're working at a startup or a smaller um or just even freelancing for individuals, it's really important to know how everything works in one at a bigger space, because it kind of correlates to everything. So I think that is something we all have in common, where we started off at a more scrappier, smaller environment, to then working at a bigger place where your eyes are just so open, where you're like, whoa, I don't like doing this is someone else's job. Like I don't have to do
Yeah.
all of these things. It's such a crazy
Mhm.
switch up, but you learn that kind of mentality of working for a startup is really helpful no matter where you go. So, in terms of like working for a startup or working for a smaller agency, Olivia, this is, how we kind of kickstarted our career was we worked for one individual who was amazing, and we still are really in touch with her, and it kind of like got us to where we are today. And what is your advice to those who are starting a career to taking that same approach to work really close knit with someone who's already in the industry, who's maybe freelancing, assisting them to kind of kickstart your career and learn? Like, do you have any advice for that?
I would definitely say if you can find it, like go for it. I think that it's a more niche avenue, I think, and not a traditional route that people might
Yeah.
think to do. Because you think about, oh, after you graduate, or even like when you're looking for an internship in college, you're looking for companies, you're looking for that experiences. But we got lucky. We were her right-hand man. So like I think it gave us a lot of opportunity to learn, and she trusted us to kind
Yeah.
of make decisions that maybe she just wanted our input. And I think especially working kind of more in the social content media world, that we were so in it too. So she like really valued our opinions and
Yeah.
expertise to do that, which that I think helped even like my confidence as a designer. Because technically wasn't really even a designer at that time, but she trusted me and liked that I did. So I even got the confidence to that I can do it, and that like, okay, maybe I can do this
The
more.
power of
Totally.
having a good boss is
Yeah.
really insane.
It's insane. And she literally gave up, like, I feel like we tell her this all the time, but I'm like, you just gave me everything that you didn't even know was gonna happen. I don't know. It's just like one of those crazy things where
Yeah. Giving
you can
confidence.
learn
She
so
gave us
much.
confidence. And I think
Hmm.
that any good boss or leader, that should be like their number one goal for managing a team, is to make sure they feel confident and not to make them feel scared to do
Hmm.
things. If they say, I don't know how to do this, just saying, you got this, I've seen you do it.
Totally.
And
And mhm.
pushing them into the shark tank, pushing your team or the people working under you into the shark tank is the best way for them to learn.
Yeah. And I even think it's funny how we like I still felt so young, I feel like after college, but we're emailing these like CEOs or like
Yeah.
bosses or like people. I'm like, am I allowed? Like, this
I
Right?
makes me
know.
feel like I'm allowed
Imposter
to be doing
syndrome.
this. Yes, imposter syndrome, but everything was great. That we did a great
Well, it
job.
led you to where you are today, which is the best gift that anything can give you.
Yeah.
Yes, especially like New York, like
Yeah,
it's a scary place coming from, I feel like Cleveland, Ohio, like not being very exposed to as much, especially like in the
definitely.
creative world. It was different and new and scary, and I didn't even know how to like navigate it, or I didn't even know what possibilities were out there, I guess. And then it all kind of just worked out.
Did you know a lot of people when you moved here, or were you kind of more on your own?
Tell
No,
that story. Tell that
oh,
story.
oh my gosh. So that's what after I graduated, I was still living at home, with my parents, saving up money, trying to figure things out, was freelancing and working for the agency still. And our boss asked if I wanted to fly out to New York for Fashion Week, so to help do social content, take all the stuff. And I'm like,
Mhm.
yes, of course. Like, of course, that's I've only ever wanted to do that. Yeah. And so it was like leading up to it, and she didn't really know where I was going to stay yet. So she asked Madeline if I could stay with her. And
Oh my
Madeline, of
God.
course, was like, yeah, like absolutely. That even though we like didn't really talk that much because we were doing different things at the time. And
Yeah.
so just didn't really know each other that well. But Madeline let me stay with her during fashion night in the first week or the first night I got there. We shared in the same bed because
Yeah.
Madeline also had other roommates at the time. And we were just like giggling and chatting all night and like it felt like we knew each other forever. So
That's
that
amazing.
it was the best. And no, yeah, Madeline was the only person I knew in New York at the time. So
Oh wow.
it
Yeah,
was a
I will never
crazy.
forget when you got your job at La Mer, just you being in the room next to me, because she eventually ended up
Oh.
moving into our same apartment.
Which
So,
that's even a crazy story too, because so I was in New York and I left New York after Fashion Week and it was great. And I was like, I need to move here
Mhm.
even more so now, but still just like logistically, I didn't know if it made sense or whatever at the time. But then my my parents' house that I was living in at the time caught on fire
What?
and we had to leave. Like we didn't have a house. Like they were trying to
Oh
figure
my
out where we were
gosh.
going. We were staying in a hotel. But that night that it all happened, Madeline texted me asking if I wanted to sublease um, Zoe's room. And I'm like, this came at the perfect time because my house literally burnt down.
Seriously.
Like
yeah,
I had to, like I had no other choice to do it. And I was so happy. So the stars just aligned so well,
I
I
did.
think, for
Wow.
everything. Hmm.
Crazy story, and it's crazy. It's been like 2 years since a lot of this, and to see our like growth and where we are,
Totally.
it's really insane.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, I think that we haven't touched on it enough, but the craziness of that Fashion Week era and the kind of things that we experienced. Um, I mean, Olivia, like we're very humble, but we have had an amazing amount of experiences during, I mean, how many fashion weeks did we work together? Also, Olivia
A
and I worked
lot.
on our first big project together, which was for Cartier. I was 19
Wow.
doing Cartier's LinkedIn, managing the LinkedIn pro. I mean, that was
Hmm.
so scary.
So
Um,
crazy.
and I mean, we were so young doing a lot of this work, but it was amazing and we had a great time. But what was kind of a highlight from Fashion Week, something that you tell people about and people are like, no way, no way that happened. Is there anything that sticks out from that time?
Um, the lemon.
Yes, I was gonna say the lemon.
It's always the lemon story.
What is
Um,
this lemon story?
oh my gosh. They were doing Focus, who we were working for helping shoot content with at the time. They were putting on a show where
For
they
Stod.
they
Cool.
had this giant mirrored sparkly
Lemon.
lemon that was massive that they were
Massive.
using for
Wow.
the show. And it was like the lemon was the most important part of like the entire fashion week, entire 2 weeks
It
that we were there.
was.
So like we
It
had to
had
make
a
sure
whole
we
build
had
out scheduled.
a
Oh
whole
my
build
gosh.
out.
And how Fashion Week works is there's one centered location, and some designers will have shows offsite, so they rent out a location, but there's one specific location that for recent years has been Spring Studios, and they have a rooftop.
Mhm.
And there's multiple designers having shows in these buildings in the different floors. And so like there's the
Mhm.
rooftop, which each day, a different designer or designers will be having a show that day. So if you have a big build out in this on location, you have to do it that day or like an hour before the show because other designers need it. So we work
Mhm.
for the producers of these shows, which I've never seen such crazy. I mean, these people are They do magic. They really
I mean, that's
do.
gotta be the
They do
most
Magic.
God's
stressful
work.
thing.
It is. And they have to put on the show, and it's only a 15-minute show, but the amount of work that goes into it, the lighting, the build out, the guest stuff. I mean, like setting up everything. So yeah, so I finished the lemon story.
Yeah, it was just so we were in charge of mostly capturing the content for the production team. So like we wanted to get everything that they were doing. So we were kind of following in their lead and following their line, but they really wanted us to capture this lemon. So it just took, we were up at, what was it? Was it 5 a.m.? Was it even earlier that
No,
we had
so
to be
what
there?
happened
And we
was
were,
we were at nighttime. We had to capture it coming in at nighttime, right?
oh,
Or
yes, yes.
something. And
Hmm.
um whatever it was, the boss said to come in the morning to capture it being like built out.
Mhm.
Or maybe we just had to stay late the night before for another event.
Yeah.
And so we ended up getting home at like 3 a.m. and we were all sleeping over together
Mhm.
and had to go capture this limit at 5 a.m. So we only got like 45 minutes of
Oh
sleep.
my gosh.
Yes. And you know what it was? It was beautiful. It was stunning.
It
But
was
we were
stunning.
so slap happy. I feel like the next couple days were like just like having so much fun with it.
We were
And
on the roof with this lemon, just like, and that was the last show of the season too. So I mean, we were emotional when that show happened because we were like,
mhm,
we were on 45 minutes of sleep. We had been working all week.
mhm.
Um, and then we
And
saw
we
the
did
show
it.
with the lemon.
Mhm,
It was pretty rewarding. And that was the most fun part about working Fashion Week is it's kind of the only uh job where you have a reward. Like you work so hard, but you actually it pays off because you get to watch the show. But a lot of people that work it actually don't get to watch the show. But we did
God.
because we worked in content creation
Yeah.
and we covered the show. So we did get to watch it. And we got to go to some of the spots or like the where no one's allowed to step foot in. Like we were in the Empire State Building on when it was
oh my
completely
gosh.
closed down.
Yes. Oh my God. That one was also crazy. Going with
Yeah,
at like it was 2 a.m. and we're setting up
cameras.
the time lapse cameras
Yeah.
so that they can watch like the everything getting set up. And it was so crazy just being there, yeah, and getting to experience that. Like you would never be able to do that
No.
or wouldn't
Yes.
have that opportunity to do it, but
Are
always
you
so
still
fun.
are you
Yeah.
still involved with Fashion Week with your current job or
No, they don't do any, they're not involved in Fashion Week, but they do some of any like award shows. They've done a couple in the past
That's cool.
where they'll send a team to kind of capture the content with whatever celebrity that they're partnering with for it and
cool?
capture stuff. And then our team would take some of the stuff and either put it on the site, design emails, social template, like social posts, all that stuff. So that's kind of our involvement, but nothing too um crazy, I guess, with the skincare. But
Yeah.
Okay, so I think I wanted to ask you a bit about your role as a digital designer because
mhm,
a lot of people who, let's picture a high schooler who's interested in graphic design, don't really understand like the different paths you can take as a graphic designer. Can you explain a little bit about what you do specifically at La Mer and even in detail? I know like the web design stuff you do is very, time, I mean, it takes a lot of time. You're building out pages and pages, and I think a lot of people that don't work in the field don't really understand the process of even how web is or a website is built. So would love to hear
mhm.
kind of the ins and out of your role and the different paths you can take as a designer.
Yeah. So specifically, I think for digital designer, what I am is that we touch almost like anything digital. So anything from the e-commerce site to emails to some social and paid social assets, app experiences, and any content for maybe retailers like Sephora or all those different different shops. We kind of mostly work on that. So if a campaign comes out and a new product launches and they need some additional emails or some new web pages, our team kind of handles all that. So we get it briefed in and then kind of use those assets and kind of place them where they need to be. So as opposed to maybe a regular designer who works on our 360 campaign teams, they handle a lot of like print, even some in-store um like assets
Banners
and
and stuff.
builds and yeah, exactly. So that's kind of like the little bit difference about that, which is I like it because I think it
Yeah.
narrows it down a little bit because in the world I feel like of graphic design it gets it's very big and there's a lot of different avenues you can go with it, but specializing in digital kind of keeps you in a lane and you can like hone in on those certain skills. So whether it is for an app, that design or web page design or emails, kind of all stays there. So I like it.
It's really
Or
cool.
anything.
And you get to work a little bit on art direction and styling for some shoots as well. And
Mhm.
would love to hear about the difference in working for a beauty brand versus fashion. And Izzy, how you're working a lot with clothes as well, if there's any comparisons to the two industries.
Yeah, I would love to. I could talk a bit about maybe how it kind of works in beauty since
Yeah,
I don't know too much about the fashion
you
side.
talk about beauty and then I'll let you know if it's
It's
similar
kind
or
of the
different.
same.
Yeah.
I think it pretty is similar. So for say we do our team and I work on we have monthly promotional campaigns. So if they want to sell certain products or have like certain sets they want to sell each month, they'll hand that brief to us and we'll concept for that month based off of the direction marketing wants to go into. So uh, we'll have that brief. We'll create mood board concept from um, any swipes or anything that we see that we like, and we put it together and then we shoot it. But ours is definitely more product focused. So we want to make sure we're really capturing like the logos and like the color of like the textures. So it's very like sensorial, especially at La Mer. They like to hone on in on that. So they're very quick. We try to do as many shots a day. Um, yeah, I don't know if anything, I guess it would be more questions also like how, maybe what type of campaigns also like do you work on, or is it more, are you on social campaigns, or how does that work with you?
So I'm more on like the analytical side. So I guess
Okay.
I'm more of the one like saying, oh, this product isn't really moving. Let's focus more on it to sell through the units.
Okay.
So I guess like, and then I'll give that to our designers and say, we need to feature this in an email or something like that. But what we have like seasonal photo shoots for each collection.
Hmm.
And then we also have PDP, like the product shoots.
Yeah.
And we kind of use a mix of both images for all
Hmm.
of our different campaigns.
Hmm.
So I guess the kind of bigger difference is that you guys are more focused on, like the actual physical product itself and like how it's gonna make you feel, how it's like, ooh, this looks so nice. I want to put that on my face instead of
Hmm.
like, oh, I want to wear this to a little cocktail party or
Yeah.
so I guess like the fashion thing is kind of more where you envision yourself wearing this product instead of
Hmm.
like sure you're gonna see how it's gonna make you feel through the campaign, but not really as much as in beauty, I would say.
Yeah. That's an
That's it.
interesting,
Yeah.
like, yeah, because how beauty's interesting because yeah, you have to sell something that you can't really, it's not so obvious.
Right.
So I
Hmm.
think
It's
you
more
have
about
to,
the result rather than the place you're going.
Definitely.
Yes.
And like I
Yes.
feel like in beauty skincare world it's less of a quick fix, like less
Yeah.
of like, oh, I have an event tonight, I need something to wear one time, instead of
Hmm.
like, oh, I really want to work on my skin and fix my skin barrier, what is going to help me over 3 months.
Hmm.
So I
That
guess like
yeah.
I feel like maybe beauty's like selling more of a like longer journey, and capturing that in like a few photos is that concept is so crazy to think about.
No,
Yeah.
that's really interesting. And like aside from even the styling or the art direction or the shoots for these two things
Mhm.
for beauty versus fashion, this is a bigger um conversation around just the marketing and advertising between these two worlds and how you think about marketing and how you think about selling a product. The way you're selling a jar of La Mer versus
Hmm.
a beautiful gown for a night out is completely different, and you have
Yeah.
to really use the appropriate messaging and strategies to sell those things. And so it's very interesting. And although they seem very similar, it's very different.
Yeah. I mean, you definitely have to be an expert in storytelling for beauty, that's for sure.
Yeah.
That's what they always ingrain. They're like, storytelling, storytelling, storytelling is asked and stated like I feel like a million times a day because
Totally.
it's so important,
Yeah.
especially in creative, the marketing, the whole brand itself.
Definitely, and
So
especially in
fascinating.
like digital assets that are not video, like how is one photo gonna say 1,000 words? You know how that whatever they say.
Hmm.
You can't like just post a video of somebody talking about how amazing this thing is. Like you have to like take pictures of the whole thing and get really like up close and personal in the details.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Olivia, what is a project or moment while working in both digital marketing and design that just really meant a lot to you or was a standout moment?
Um, I think the coolest project that I think I was able to work on was the Black Friday Cyber Monday campaign for La Mer because it really it took different things that I have been like learning over the past and kind of all putting it together. So there was some of like art direction, and then we used a CGI production team to kind of create the different assets, which
Can you explain what a CGI production team is?
so the CGI production, they're computer generated imagery. So we work with the team in building out these environments that we want to feature these assets with. So we not only helped them build out these like scenes and like backgrounds very detailed and very realistic. They had to rebuild the products also into the setting. So, and black for our campaigns, we have like over like 30 different products that we are placing and swapping. So you have to get granular about the products. Like, do they look right? Are they the right colors? Is everything matching? Yeah, just making everything's cohesive, and being really on top with communicating with the team and what we want, and then building the assets then after that from there. And it was really cool to then see it launch and um, kind of watch the results because since Black Friday, Cyber Monday is one of our biggest selling moments of the year. They do over $20 million in sales.
Wow.
And it's just so much of the business and it's like really important to the company and to be able to work on that and watch it produce like the results and even better than the year before is just like it's so rewarding and just like so cool to be able to kind of be a part of that with the
That
That's
is
company.
really
amazing. I
cool.
mean, Black Friday, Cyber Monday is like the most stressful part of the year.
I
In
know
And
in
and
any
you work on it in
marketing
anyone.
so
industry.
you work on it in so many months in advance, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
how far in advance do you guys plan out Black Friday, Cyber Monday?
Black Black Friday Cyber Monday gets briefed in like February, March before, but even holiday, like next year's holiday, they're already
You're
like
already starting.
shooting for all their stuff. So it's really it's a really long process, but it's interesting though for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, they do wait so long. Like it even is like a really quick timeline and turnover because they want all of the region's input on like what products they want to sell or what
Hmm.
any TOAs or extra gifts they want to include.
Yeah.
So it's kind of almost like a last minute, like we got to beat to the punch. So it's definitely a very busy and stressful time, but yeah, very rewarding. And I feel
No,
like we're
that,
used to it with all of the like fast-paced stuff doing freelancing. So it kind
yeah,
of all comes
totally.
together.
I mean, it's such a cool thing to see all of your work pay off, like through the sales and through all the data afterwards. And I mean, it's all this pent up demand that's in a teeny tiny window compared to the rest of the year. And I
Hmm.
think that a lot of people don't realize how much volume companies do during this one 4 day period. But I mean, now it's like Black Friday, Cyber Monday's a whole month long
Yeah,
promotion,
Hmm.
so true.
which is crazy. And mo a lot of brands like turned it into a winter sale and they've been running it since until now. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
I know.
the
I feel like the
consumer is
whole
crazy.
landscape has changed. I feel like so much. Like I remember when being little and like going to the mall right at like
Yeah,
Yeah.
midnight and waiting in lines, but now since everything's online and some places
Digital
don't
is
do it.
really crucial. Any digital related career, digital marketing, digital design, um, it's crucial to the sales of these large corporations. It's a
Hmm.
huge role.
definitely. That's so
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah.
What are y'all's point of views on the retail um landscape? Because and especially like for both Sync and La how much do they rely on their retail sales? And also with a clothing brand like it's Sync you have to go try it on. What are y'all's opinions on the retail landscape and versus the digital landscape and which one, or both are here to stay?
You go first, Olivia.
Um,
I'm hitting y'all
it's a
with these
good
questions.
question. It's definitely most, mo- I don't know the exact percentages, but like most of our sales are online because we don't have we don't have any freestanding. There's some
Yours.
free stores where it, we have some travel retail. We have good travel retail numbers and some stores
Like the
out
tax-free
in,
shopping.
yeah,
Ah,
some of
cool.
that. So a little bit of that, but most of it comes from online, which also is still is pretty impressive because you're not like trying the textures like you
Yeah.
can the clothing, like
Totally.
you're kind of just blind ordering it or like I don't know,
Yeah.
just hoping
So La
that
Mer
it
Well,
is
works
at
and
out.
Sephora, right?
yeah.
They are at Sephora. They used to be in store, but they took it so now
Oh,
it's
okay.
online
Oh,
only.
Oh,
interesting.
yeah.
That which which I think is interesting because I think it honestly had to do with I don't know if it was a Sephora thing too, where um like theft was a problem.
Uh,
Just
Oh,
I
which
mean,
is
that's a big
interesting.
thing too, which you don't think about is the whole theft in retail
Hmm.
shopping. And I mean, also it's what's interesting, like you said, like most of your sales are online and you can't touch and feel the product. And especially with La Mer being such a high price point, you would think like people would want to check this out before they're
yeah.
not going to impulse buy La
Yeah.
Mer. Like you're
Yeah.
not scrolling on TikTok seeing an ad and saying, "Oh, I want this like $200 moisturizer." Like,
Hmm.
um, which is just so fascinating. It depends who your consumer is, because I mean, something that somebody said was like all these high price point, like not luxury, but like in between brands, they're a millionaire or a billionaire's fast fashion or like their drugstore product, basically.
Yes.
Which I thought was so interesting. It really puts your consumer like into perspective. I mean, for us, we do a lot of our sales online mostly. I
Hmm.
mean, we're slowly opening up many retail stores in the next year. And a lot of
Oh,
our business is done through wholesale. Um, but
okay.
it also depends where your store is. Like in how's the traffic in that area? Is your consumer in that location? I think that's learning a lot about the location of the store. It can make or break your sales,
That
which
is,
is crazy.
yeah. That's fascinating though if you're opening more because you feel like people are staying away from stores and being online, but then I do feel like stores are they making a comeback? Do you
I
feel
hear that
like they
retail is
are?
making a comeback
I
and that
also
malls
think
are
that
back.
it's a
I
marketing
love that.
moment for a lot of luxury stores just to have a presence in a certain location.
Totally.
It reminds
Mhm.
people of the brand. I mean, you see it kind of like Lululemon seems to be falling out a little bit, but if you still see a Lululemon alongside in a nice retail development, you're gonna think of the brand again. And
Yeah.
I
It's
think
definitely an
it
awareness play.
awareness play for sure.
Mhm.
But I think that just in general, people are wanting to go out and shop again. I mean, even I have loved going to shop this past year more than remember doing. And when I
Hmm.
go out to that like malls or outdoor malls, they're crowded. I mean, they're
They
extremely
are.
crowded. Yeah. So it
No,
seems like
totally.
things are coming back a little bit.
Well, and also
I
another
love
thing
that.
that I think is so interesting about retail stores is you said Lululemon. Everywhere that I imagine a Lululemon is in my head, there's an Aloe store right next door. There's a Viore store across the street.
Yep.
There's a Hoka store right there. I'm like, what are these people like? It's just so crazy to me that they would want to be in the same place, but I guess it's smart. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I
It
know.
reminds me of like gas stations, how like
Yeah.
there's always two, at least two
Yeah.
next to each other.
Yeah, or
Is it a
like CVS and
competition?
Walgreens, like
Yes.
right
Is
next.
it a, yeah.
For all those brands, it always comes down to the product. I mean,
Yeah,
like you have to have a standout product to make a comeback or to sustain yourself against all these new competitors, especially for an athletic brand. With Lululemon up against like a Viore or an Aloe, they need to be like a little bit more smart with a new product or a standout product of something like existing. I think that specifically the athletic space is an area that's getting really crowded. And so it's like, what can these brands do to stand out? Um,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and like even speaking about that, I mean, last or this past year, like Outdoor Voices, remember they closed all their stores?
Mhm.
Um, and like that's even crazy. They had like
Yeah.
over 50 stores around the world, like around the country, and they just decided to shut them all down. But I think that shows like it's a really tough market out there, and you could be losing a lot of money.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think we will wrap it up soon, but I have one question that just for us to all talk about because I think it speaks to both or all of our career trajectories. And we're very independent people. We all have that hustle mentality. Olivia and I have attempted multiple startups. I wouldn't call them startups. They were idea to deck to conversation to, okay, we actually need to get experience.
Yeah, we're like, okay,
uh,
maybe next time.
maybe
We'll
next
come back
time.
to this. We'll come
We'll come
back.
back to this. But
Yeah.
it kind of goes back to the importance of getting experience. There's a lot of people who graduate college or in college and they just say, fuck a boss. I just want to work for myself. Or I could never imagine myself working for other people. And I think after starting work and maybe used to saying things like that, I realized kind of how crazy it is to say that because you can't just say fuck a boss. Like you actually have to learn from a mentor or somebody. And would love to just talk about this and give some advice because it's so easy to say those things, but it's crucial to have firsthand experience and work for those who do.
Mhm. That's a good question because I think it's tricky, but luckily I feel like there's a lot of different ways to kind of get that experience you're talking about. I think even starting with the smallest projects that maybe you don't even think are that small, but just creating, doing these things, showing proof of concept almost, and slowly starting to build your portfolio. I think that is something that just people look forward to, whether they're clients or potential employers. Like it's just kind of important, especially in the creative design space. That's what the first thing everyone looks for or looks at. And I think that also can go into like if you just don't stop talking about it, like anyone who will listen, like talk about how you want to be doing these things because you never know for design where I'm like, oh, I am a designer, and then someone's like, oh, I actually need this. Like, could you help me? Like that happened randomly also when I graduated to like a fireman because my car broke down on the side of the street and a fireman came and was like, oh, I have a photography business. Like, I need a logo. Like, would you make it for me? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, and he paid me some money. So it's just like building those things, like starting small and then being able to take those, whether it is maybe a content creator of some sort and going and pitching yourself to them and being like, can I learn from you? Or can I help you even just like assist you part-time and getting that mentorship or going to a small business startup kind of like we have and helping that way and then transferring over either to a bigger business or just take on more clients as you go on and kind of figuring out your workload and kind of what you want, really. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
totally.
That
I
answer.
think the like say yes to everything mentality is kind of like how you get there
Hmm.
quicker than if you were to just be like, I don't know, like. But if like you said, like the fireman example, it's just a small thing, but it's one more thing for your portfolio.
Exactly. And I think that, um, yeah, just more you talk about it, post it on stuff. You never know who's going to see you or like reach out and want to do stuff. Like, kind
We
of a
forgot the
whole.
most important mention that you were the graphic designer for all the You'll Get There
Oh
assets, our
yeah.
logo,
Oh
our
yeah,
This
branding.
is all Olivia's beautiful work.
and
Yeah.
have good friends that do fun things too, and that have your same interests, because then you can all work together and get to do some fun stuff. So,
Yeah, again, to what you said though, the say yes to everything mentality, it is crucial when you're starting a career, especially in a city like New York or LA or whatever. You shouldn't look at any job as being below you when you don't really have a strong name or company. You have to just get experience with all things, make every single possible connection. It always will play out, and you never know what one small little gig might help you in the long run. I've had so many different like experiences like that where I've done some crazy bitch work, but like for example, doing a unpaid internship for one of New York City's like biggest designers, do a lot that does a lot of custom celebrity outfits and whatever. And I did this really, shitty internship, but I got to go to that person's show for years and um get great access, build up my portfolio and form a, DM first relationship with that designer. So I think it's really important just to say
amazing.
yes to everything. And even if it's a lot of work, and even if you're getting 45 minutes of sleep to capture this lemon at a stud show, we still got to go to a stud show. I mean, how many
Yes.
people at our age were going to that show? So, um, that is a good thing to end with. Just say yes to everything and take risks when you don't have anything really in the way.
Yeah. Well, and like we're so young. This is the only time that you can literally do this and get no sleep and be okay and function the next day.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
So it's a
Exactly.
very exciting.
2025,
Yeah, here we are.
the year of the yeses.
The
I
year of
love
the
it.
yeses.
The
That's
year of the
amazing.
yeses.
All right. Well, thank you
Cool.
so much,
Well,
Olivia.
Yes.
Congratulations on
Thank you, Olivia.
everything.
thank you
Yeah.
so much. I'm so happy. You guys are amazing.